What's up? What's going on, everybody? What's good? That's right. The Boxing Source here checking in Sunday, August 13th, 2023. This is the Boxing Source radio show. We in it here for another episode. And of course, we got a lot to talk about here in this one, man. Thank all y'all for joining in this particular conversation. Of course, we got a lot to talk about here in this one. You had a very busy Saturday. Of course, I was out on site there for what's going down in the MGM National Harbor. Had like a number of fights that took place at the National Harbor that we're going to be discussing, and we will get to that here in a bit. But you know what? First thing we want to do is talk about what happened over in the UK. Of course, you had the former unified heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua back in the ring going up against Robert Helenius. Of course, that was the replacement opponent for Dillian Whyte. As we discussed in the last podcast episode, Dillian Whyte had been caught, with a legal substance there, through the testing that took place. So, up until Monday, Tuesday or so, we didn't even know who the replacement opponent would be for Anthony Joshua, but it ended up being Robert Helenius. Helenius, of course, came in after being in a fight the previous weekend. He had a fight last Saturday against Mika Milonen, and he was able to get a TKO victory there in that particular bout. That was his fight that was after losing to Deontay Wilder last October at the Barclays Center in that first round, KO victory for Deontay Wilder. But, Robert Helenius came in there, with a record of 32 wins and 4 losses, with three at the time, 3 of those losses were by knockout, of course, by Deontay Wilder, Gerald Washington, and by Johan Duhaupas. But it was something where, people just felt like, Anthony Joshua was going to come in there and just have his stay busy fight. That was the reason why, they wanted to keep this card for Anthony Joshua to stay busy, have, another fight here in 2023. Before I go into this more, I got, a distinguished guest jumping in here. The chef, brother Terrell is in the building. What's happening with you, Terrell?
Hey, what's going on, Jerry? You all right?
All good, man. All good, yo. Just getting into this.
Yeah, so I definitely got caught in and out of their coverage on AJ. But first of all, as always, thank you once in a while for having this platform that we can jump on to discuss boxing in a professional way, despite whatever noises outside. You look at things objectively. You don't take sides. You just simply report as you see it. And there's no better to report than that, than to report on the actual facts. So thank you for that also.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's how I'm able to, get into a lot of these events. I really don't have any type of thing where I show favoritism towards a certain boxing organization or anything like that. It's pretty much about the sport of boxing and, featuring the fighters whenever we can. You know what I'm saying? So that's all the things that I try to do here on the Boxing Source is feature the fighters and feature the sport of boxing, and so that's what my thing or my job is here as a reporter, a long-time reporter for boxing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, going back into what was happening over in the O2 Arena at the UK. Anthony Joshua getting back in the ring. Of course, he had a decision victory over Jermaine Franklin earlier this year. And said that, he wanted to get back another fight here in the summer, was able to do that. Ended up being against Robert Helenius instead of Dillian Whyte. And, with Robert Helenius in comparison to Dillian Whyte, of course, that's, something where you go against your original opponent is a shorter fighter. You pretty much have a thing where you're kind of used to what Dillian Whyte does. In comparison to someone like Robert Helenius, who's a taller fighter, a rangier fighter, and does have a number of KOs, but he usually stops his opponents. He really doesn't have thudding power like that is pretty much something where he wears down his opponents in order to, eventually stop them in the later rounds. So I think that, from a matchup perspective or matchmaking perspective, they really didn't expect Robert Helenius to have like much going behind his punches, but it was still something where he was a tall heavyweight and a big heavyweight that's coming off of, fighting a week prior. So at least, you have somebody that's been fairly active there within this year. And so Joshua was kind of doing that and seeing where he's at with this second bout, being under, being under Derek James. And for those that have been following the podcast, we kind of talked about Derek James being as a trainer, like how many fighters that he has under stable, and that this was the third fight that Derek James has been involved in over the previous 6 weeks or so. We see what happened with Frank Martin. We see what happened with Errol Spence Jr. Now, we had to see where Anthony Joshua is at this particular point. So now, we looked at what was going down here with Anthony Joshua, and I think it was more of something where he was trying to get his timing down or anything like that. So for me, I just seen that he was mixing things up, moving his head a little bit, throwing the jab up and down, particularly throwing those jabs to the body and trying to find his right hand after that. But for the majority of those rounds, particularly rounds 2 through 5, he really couldn't find that range for that right hand to where he would be able to really do damage on Robert Helenius. And Helenius was mixing things up a bit, throwing a few jabs here and there. He would throw some right hands, but the thing with the right hand of Helenius, it almost seemed like Joshua was expecting it, so he would either have his guard up or he would duck down. So it wasn't like Joshua was really getting hit with the right hands. It was mainly the jabs that was throwing off the timing of Anthony Joshua through those particular rounds. So while that was giving him trouble, like I said with Robert Helenius, he is more of a guy that accumulates punishment in order to have his opponents in trouble. And I really don't think that Anthony Joshua kind of felt like he was in that much trouble against Robert Helenius, so he just still took his time and things like that. And for those that were watching live on his own and listening to the commentary, they were like, "Oh, Anthony Joshua, he hasn't really being active with his punches. He's only throwing one punch at a time, doing that type of thing, and not throwing like 2-3 punch combinations." But when it came to round 7, basically round 6, round 7, you'd see that Joshua was throwing more of those combinations, but he still was trying to find the range there against Robert Helenius, and it just didn't really look like that was much of the case there from what he was doing. Even though he has like a longer reach, it seems he was fighting like he was the much shorter fighter in comparison to Robert Helenius, not just a guy that was like a half inch shorter. It was almost like he was fighting like he was 6'3" or 6'4", because you seen him not only like move his head a lot, but also like dip down, duck down a little bit, step in and step out. And that's something there to where I guess he was trying to confuse Helenius. But in some cases, some people feel like he should have just went on ahead and tried to come forward. And the instant that he pretty much did come forward in that 7th round, he was able to score the big right hand in order to floor Robert Helenius. But when he did that, he kind of like set up Robert Helenius in a sense, because he was throwing the double jab and right hand. And what he did was he kind of threw the jab. I think it was like he threw the jab upstairs and threw the next jab downstairs in order to set up the right hand to come over the top. Because what ends up happening is you pretty much have your opponent guessing there to where you're going to be next. And so he was able to, have Helenius drop his left hand to where Joshua was going to go down with his jab, but he just didn't have the left hand up in order to catch the right hand, and that ended up flooring Robert Helenius for Joshua to score that knockout victory. And so that was it there, pretty much hand down, man down there. So Anthony Joshua gets that KO victory. What is that, like 23 KOs now and the 26 wins, and he's looking forward to what's going to be happening next. And of course, that is pretty much looking like it's going to be Deontay Wilder. It's just going to be okay. When would that fight, basically take place? You know what I'm saying? So the thing about it is, I'm not sure if it's going to be in December or it's going to be in January. And also, I'm not sure if Deontay Wilder is going to have a fight in the interim before he faces Anthony Joshua. I think he should have a fight before facing Anthony Joshua, but that whole thing remains to be seen as of this particular point. Terrell, what you got in reference to Joshua's win over Helenius yesterday?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm glad that Joshua, they did find a late opponent to get in with Joshua. We know what happened with Dillian White, popped positive on a drug test. We don't know what he popped positive for, how much he did, and things like that, when it happened, what kind of test protocols they had in place. But bottom line, he was not a part of the fight. So for Joshua, I'm glad that he was able to fight. I mean, the worst thing is to have a full training camp and then find out at the last minute that your main opponent dropped out for whatever reason, injury, drugs, whatever it may be. So I'm glad that Joshua got that opportunity to fight and use what he learned in this training camp. As you already recall stated, this is his second fight with Derrick James. So this is all about the advancement of what basically we want to see. How much further along is he adapting to his trainer? How much is what his trainer's telling him, but how he can change himself in that regard. So, but I said, main thing, I'm glad he got the rounds in, and even a small note too, like I think Herkovic was on the card too, and I was just talking week where they said Eddie Hearn was saying like, oh well. Basically, the Herkovic camp, they're like, nah, they kind of done now. We're not starting there, and it's not so much as a duck, but on these top fights, you need the full time to prepare for a particular opponent. You can't just flip chess pieces like that in that regard. So that was an option, but that's where we enter Robert Helenius. I say he's a known name out there. Has a good couple of victories over Adam Kownacki. Even though now those are definitely not good wins, as we see what Kownacki is and things like that. But nevertheless, Helenius been there with pretty much the top people, and we know, as you said recently, his Deontay Wilder. So aside from all that, right? You look at what the fight Helenius had with Wilder. We know what happened with that. I was a first round KO with a quick check hook, things like that. He got out of there, and then. Sometimes it's not fair, but obviously we're going to compare common opponents, right? So we'll look at what Wilder did with Helenius, and we're going to look at what Joshua did with Helenius. Two different fights, two different styles, things like that, right? But it's on paper when you look at that. Once we know that Wilder has that big right hand, and so does Joshua, but it's about when do they deliver that? Do they have the confidence to deliver that, right? We know with Joshua, not a lot of boxing, not his punch output's not high at all. We know that. He tends to just kind of float around the ring, a little light jab here and there, things like that, and then boom, throw the big right hand. We know that's what he's going to do, right? Joshua, more cerebral. I don't want to use the word timid, but just more cerebral in this person. Like you said last night. Yeah. He couldn't find his range. And what does that tell you? He's in there thinking about it. And is he thinking about it too much? Possibly. And when you consider the opponent like Helenius, definitely not a big power puncher. He has a big body, but a big body doesn't always translate to power. We know that, right? So honestly, I would have loved to see Joshua get him out of there a little sooner. if the opportunity presented itself. But then it gets this boxing, two different styles, and you can't just say, "Oh, if one guy did this, the other guy should be able to do it too." No, you can't always say that. But one, like I said, is definitely a more cerebral thinker. Uh, I wish he wasn't at times. I wish he's more brutal with his size and strength, things like that. But once again, that we know boxing is done between that muscle between the ears. And if you're thinking about it too much, then that you could hesitate, things like that. So, but once again, good to see him in the ring. I'm glad he got a victory. Looks like he definitely got some confidence post fight. Was a little bit of antics in the ring, things like that. And as Mike spoke on, got to knock out and walk right out of the ring, things like that. Something that you typically don't see. I mean, most fighters
Right.
they'll get a knockout and they'll kind of go down. They'll celebrate for a quick minute. Or if you're female, you'll do a backflip or whatever. Or if you JR, you know. Let me stop. I ain't gonna mess with you, man. But no, but not most. They get a knockout. They'll stoop down, check on the guy they knocked out, things like that. But Joshua wouldn't have none of that, and he's earned the right to celebrate. He has. So you can say what you want. Yeah, he won the fight. He got a knockout. Good for him. But going forward to him and Wilder, he's going to have to be more instinctive to fight Wilder. He cannot be in there being too cerebral, thinking about it. And someone with a big right hand like Wilder, you think about it. Do you think about that right hand? What does that mean? Fear. And at this level, another fighter can definitely smell fear on another fighter, and they're gonna go right after you in that regard. But at the same time, it's a different fight because, like I said, with Helenius, he doesn't have a whole lot coming back at him, so there's not a lot to fear there. I mean,
Right.
well, we know it's a heavyweight division. We know that any one punch can change the fight. We know that. But in reality, someone at the top level like Joshua, it's not a lot coming back. You know that. Of course, some just don't go in there wide open with your hands down and your chin out. We know that. But like I said, I kind of would have liked to have seen him get Helenius out of there a lot sooner. But nevertheless, it happened how it happened, and now we move forward.
Yeah. And the thing with Anthony Joshua here, real quick, is that you talk about him being a cerebral fighter, but usually those type of KOs, he usually gets those KOs around that time. Like a number of the KOs that he's scored in his career, particularly in this this portion of his career, have been pretty much around like round 7, rounds 9, 10, 11, that type of thing. Like you really haven't seen him have an early knockout win or TKO win since 2016 or whatever it was. So he's more of a guy that like I said, even with Helenius, but he's more of a punisher type of a fighter in that he'll get you with a number of punches that will stun you, and then eventually come up with a combination that will put you down. This one was one of those rare occasions where it's like a one punch knockout, to where he just flattens his opponent, and that's it. That's done. But majority of the time, that's what he basically works in order to get those stoppage victories, where he works off a jab, he comes off throwing the right hands, and at least in the earlier stages of his career, be more versatile in reference to his punch selection. But here it's more of a still like a 1-1-2 or 1-2, but he just mixes the jab. And so, and like I was mentioning here with this knockout, that's how he set it up. Was he threw the jab? He threw the first jab to one portion of Helenius' body, and then he went upstairs, which kind of like faked out Helenius for him to drop the left hand, and then just came through with the right, and he ended up dropping Helenius at that particular point. But at the same token, Helenius is not the same dimensions as a Deontay Wilder. So that one, and he doesn't have the same fighting style as Deontay Wilder. Wilder is somebody that almost is more of like a either he'll throw those punches as far as like the jab, throwing it out there, or look for it, or he'll wait for his opponent to come to him. And the thing was with Wilder's fight against Robert Helenius, he waited for Helenius to come to him, and then he shot the right hand where he was able to form. So that's one thing that that Joshua has to watch out for. Is for me, it's not when Wilder kind of like throws his punches on the offensive side. Is when he comes back with the counter. I think that's one thing that he has to watch out for, more so than when Wilder is on the offensive. Now, I wanted to get another person on here real quick to talk about this fight. I may have a number of questions for him in reference to this fight in general, and that is the boxing academic. What's going on?
What's going on, fellas?
What's up, Mike?
Not much, not much. To real. As my first ever, I'm coming in and I'm coming in hot like Matt, and I'm coming for you, Terrell. And I'm gonna tell you why. As the boxing academic and the spokesperson of people who think too much, I'm offended for you to call Anthony Joshua cerebral. I'm offended. Cerebral is Andre Ward. Cerebral is, dare I say it, Chris Algieri. Anthony Joshua ain't cerebral. Anthony Joshua is whatever word is the negative word of cerebral. That's what he is. I'm not saying that to be mean toward him, but cerebral to me entails someone thinking and using that information, in a way like how they said Terrence Crawford calculating, or even Lomachenko's calculating. I would go so far to say Lomachenko does that, and then he, sets his offense. That ain't Anthony Joshua. He ain't cerebral. So I just got a problem with us labeling him cerebral. He think too much.
There's levels to it. You know that. So you said he's the opposite of cerebral. So he's dumb in there. Is he a brute? He's not a brute.
I'm saying, so you know how words got polarities? I'm saying whatever is the closer to the negative polarity of cerebral, that's what he is. Like, for example, cerebral again is Andre Ward. That's the best example I can give for somebody who thinks a lot in the ring and uses that methodically. He's cerebral, but it's the negative portion of that. I ain't gonna disparage the man, but I'm just saying he ain't. Is he more like Andre Ward or more like Daniel Dubois?
Jerking off. It's levels to it. That's all. Levels.
Yeah, there's definitely levels to it. And with that being said, since we have the boxing academic on here, and it looks like he particularly has watched this fight between Anthony Joshua and Robert Helenius. So with that being said, I do have one question for the boxing academic, and that is,
yes, sir.
Does Anthony Joshua move his head?
Of course he doesn't.
My goodness! Oh no! Oh no!
You saying he does move his head?
Yeah. Yes, he does. So you didn't see that in this particular fight specifically?
What I saw was Anthony Joshua, the cowardly lion. That's what I saw. Those are the exact words that I text to the group after round one. How in the hell does a person have to find courage in facing Helenius? How does he have to build up his courage to engage in fighting Helenius? I get it. Helenius can throw a shot and catch you with something that you can't see, but in the skill differential, like, there is no trainer, I'm reading my words again, in this world that will help him find what he's looking for. He got to find that within. And unfortunately, I'm not sure if he doing what he need to do, because the fight that I saw, okay, JR, does he move his head sometimes? Okay, he moves his head against somebody who throws slow punches like Helenius, but does his head stay on the line more consistently than it does not? Yes, it does. His head stay on the line. And Deontay Wilder's head stay on the line too. I mean, I'm not gonna say that without saying, the other side of that coin. The only person who, I ain't gonna say the only person, one person who does that better than all the other people is Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury will move his head. He'll move his head off the line and then, move his head off the line and have a shot following that. Like them little hooks that he throw and stuff. But no, his head stay on the line more times than not.
Now, the other thing too is that, and I mentioned this before you got on, like you rarely seen anything in reference to Anthony Joshua having an early knockout. Like everything is more of him, accumulating power shots to put his opponents down. So like when you look at, the what is it? What I say about 23 of his 23 knockouts. Like a good majority of them happen within from the seventh round on. A lot of them happen within that. You rarely have seen him, have those early knockouts outside of, him facing like a Eric Molina or like a Charles Martin or something like that. And that was, some years back. But outside of that, it's basically like coming round 7, round 9, round 10, that type of a thing. So you still get that, from a majority of these fighters there when it comes to getting those knockouts. It's not just with Anthony Joshua. You've seen that with other heavyweights that are out there too. So here in the heavyweight division, and particularly now, like a number of these guys don't necessarily get those early knockouts. And the thing is like Terrell was mentioning earlier, when you have like another trainer and you're seeing what you're able to do, while having that trainer, you're still trying to figure out, okay, are you comfortable doing the things that he's basically taught you? So if he's doing that, it's not something where, okay, you're saying he's tentative and that type of thing. It's like, okay, he's trying to do the things that he hasn't been used to be doing for the majority of his career. Do we kind of like give that same moniker to a number of these other fighters that change trainers like that? Maybe, maybe not. But the thing about it is with Anthony Joshua being a high profile fighter, being a guy that is a former unified heavyweight champion, the spotlight is much bigger on him because, especially with him being in the heavyweight division, that they expect him to blow out a good number of the fighters that he's went up against or who he's going up against. And so when it comes to like, especially with this particular fight with Robert Helenius, it's like, after round 4, round 5, where you basically was still seeing him do the same thing, like throwing punches to the body, trying to do the 1-2 where he's trying to land that right hand, but being out of range, that a number of those fans over there at the O2 Arena were getting a little bit antsy because they didn't, they thought that he would be able to, get or have more success against someone like Robert Helenius like that. But, like I was saying, with Robert Helenius being the taller fighter and having a little bit of range, like Joshua was still trying to fight like, hey, okay, is this how I can get to my opponent? And kind of finding a little bit short, like a shorter fighter, not like 6'6", but more like 6'3", 6'4", in reference to trying to get to his opponent. And in some cases that may work against guys that, may not move a little bit. But if you're like a good range or a good amount of spacing away from your opponent, that won't work that much because you'll end up landing the jab. But when the right hand comes up, you're not going to get, everything out of that particular punch. So that was why, he had to wait until Helenius was basically to the ropes. And then when he was at the ropes, he had to basically set him up because he had him on the ropes a number of times before. But even when he was on the ropes, he just couldn't land the right hand because it was like he was just doing the same thing, like a 1-2 or 1-2, instead of trying to set it up or, use a feint to get Helenius's left hand down. So when he was able to do that in the 7th round and land, flush on Robert Helenius, that was that. So, that's the thing there that we kind of see in this particular instance with Joshua getting back in the ring for the second time in 2023.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I got to answer to Terrell's question. If he ain't cerebral, then what is he? And your diatribe helped me realize this word. What he is unsure. The whole time he was questioning himself. And that's I'm not gonna sum him up as that's his totality as a fighter at this point, but the majority of who he is now, he's unsure. And so, JR, I love you, man, but I feel like what you trying to do too is make yourself believe that he actually gonna beat Deontay Wilder at this point. You sound a bit unsure too about him too, JR.
I'm
I'm
not
just saying.
unsure. I'm not. I'm not.
So what's your call? What's your call?
Joshua wins by TKO.
And once again, keep just the heavyweight division. One punch can instantly change the fight. We know that, and we saw last night that Joshua still has power. When he delivers that, does he have the confidence to deliver that power? When can he deliver that power? Can he think about it or just do it? That's another question. Like I said, with facing someone like Helenius, there's not a lot coming back at you. Yeah, he's a heavyweight, but real talk, he ain't really too concerned about getting hurt from Helenius. We know that, unless there's something that he doesn't see. But when you step in the ring with Wilder, we know what he can do. We know what he can do. But the thing about it, can you keep Wilder busy enough in the meanwhile to where he doesn't throw that big right hand? Look back at Wilder Ortiz. Ortiz boxed him, doing power shots here and there, stuff like that. We know that until he made one mistake, and that was it. So can Joshua do the same thing in that regard? Keep Wilder thinking about it, and as we saw last night, he had trouble keeping his making range, things like that, and just cut off the range. It wasn't a top flight performance last night. It wasn't. And you kind of want to see a better performance, potentially going to a fight with Wilder. You definitely want to see that. Like I said, with Wilder, you got to be on your toes all the time. You can't take a break. No, because that big right hand's coming at some point. So it's but at this point now, it looks like that's what we probably had next for both fighters, as a matter of when, where, things like that. But it's going to be interesting for both sides.
Now, I mean, according to one person within Wilder's camp, they say that they have something basically done as far as like a deal is concerned, and that it might be more than one fight. But on the flip side, you have Anthony Joshua that basically had a plan that okay, he wanted to have this one fight, then face Wilder next, and if he gets Wilder and beats Wilder, then he'll go up against Tyson Fury. So that's the plan that kind of like is put in place. Of course, we know with Deontay Wilder, like he had the whole thing where he was going to be scheduled to face Andy Ruiz Jr., but no deal has basically been done yet. So we have to see if you're going to have Deontay Wilder, take an extended break. He's going to be having that Joshua fight next, and how we feel about fighters that have extended periods or extended layoffs, how they will look, so we'll have to see on that. Now we got another person.
Can I say one more thing for the person? Come on, can I say one more thing? Okay. When he walked out of that ring, that was bred from insecurity. Like the way he hit the dude and then walked out. What it looked like to me in real time when he told them F you and he walked out the ring, he didn't really want to do the thing, and then Eddie probably went to him and was like, what you doing? You got to say something. You got to do this. Like, that's bred from insecurity, man. It's unfortunate. I hope the man fix whatever he need to fix before he get in the ring, because that's going to definitely be exploited. I mean mentally. I ain't talking about physically.
I don't know about that. But the next person coming on here, I guess, has watched the fight and is more confident in his particular prediction, even though, like I say, it's going to end up being incorrect. And that is from brother MVO, who's not in the bars right now.
I am in the bar. It's just quiet tonight. It's a quiet night tonight. I am in the bar. I'm coming in hot as usual. I am sauced. Not gonna lie to you guys, but I gotta tell you, what I saw from Anthony Joshua is what I always see from Anthony Joshua. This is a guy who is scared to go to war. Okay, that roadman Femi that they used to talk about before, he died when Vladimir Klitschko hit him with that right hand. Okay, he was dead and gone then. It showed in the Andy Ruiz fight, and it's going to show in a potential fight with Deontay Wilder. I'm still skeptical that the fight gets done because I know Eddie Hearn will not put Anthony Joshua anywhere near Deontay Wilder. But I'm hoping that he does because you see my name? That is my prediction for the fight. Wilder KO 1 over Anthony Joshua. He is going to toast that English muffin.
That is not going to happen. But what I might say is it might take for Anthony Joshua to leave Backroom Boxing and join PBC in order for that fight to happen. Just like with Terrence Crawford leaving Top Rank in order to make the
So
fight
you're saying
happen.
he's scared to fight Wilder? That's what you're saying?
No, he's not scared to fight Wilder. He's never been scared to fight Wilder. I don't know where y'all get that from. I really don't know where y'all get that.
You could see it in even how he responded yesterday when they asked him questions about it.
Nope. He was like, he would be ready now, or it's 8 years ago. He was always ready. So
Man, you know, house party. I smell. I ain't gonna say the rest of it, but that's
nope. That's not happening. That's not happening. I'm telling you, Joshua by TKO is going to happen. See, the thing about it is, and this goes with what MVO has said about Anthony Joshua for a while, right? Is that, you know, after he got those world titles, he was only like fighting once or twice a year. And so you really couldn't get, you know, those things where he would be able to work on a number of things that he had to work on, you know, as a fighter. But now he's pretty much like 2 fights in this year. If he doesn't get this thing in with Wilder by December, then maybe he could get it within January or February. And if it's by February, then he could still fit in another fight. You know, that's not much for him to fit in another fight this year. So if you have him being more active out there, then you're having a guy that has, you know, basically been 3 fights in comparison to someone in Deontay Wilder who hasn't had a fight since the Helenius fight, and that was basically 1 round. So you want to have these heavyweights get in there and get in the ring, and, you know, I guess, you know, two guys that are beefy or whatever it is that MVO says. You want them to, you know, get in the ring and get as much work as they possibly can before their eventual super fight that's going to happen. I say it's going to happen either January or February. I don't think it's going to be this year, though. You know,
Jay, I got a question for you.
That's the thing on. What up?
If you look at both of Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder's trajectory, if you look at where they started and the height of like the tools, who had more in their tool belt? Who has more or had more in their tool belt? Who has more, had more in their tool belt between those two guys?
Joshua.
So in terms of skills, Anthony Joshua had and has more in his tool belts. So that means Deontay Wilder had less. So given both of these guys' skill set, who has done more with their skill set than the other guy? With what they have. How so?
How so? Because of the level of fighters that he's faced, in that he's been able to utilize.
Here you go with this again.
Against those level of fighters.
And you know, on top of that, Wilder is not a highly skilled fighter. We know that. And NVO will say that. Anybody on here will say Wilder is not a highly skilled fighter.
Well, first of all, no. Wilder is a highly skilled fighter.
So
yeah,
what you guys don't understand is that Deontay Wilder is not a traditionally skilled fighter. There is a difference. I think if you're thinking of the basics of boxing and throw a punch this way, throw a punch that way, if you're thinking of the corny textbook fundamentals, then of course you would say that Deontay Wilder is not very skilled. But you can't tell me that a guy with that incredible, impeccable timing, where he's able to land his punch on every single opponent that he has ever faced in his career, any level of opponent, even Tyson Fury, who is known as one of the great skilled boxers in boxing, this guy was able to land his punch on Tyson Fury and knock him down. This is a guy that is highly skilled because there is no greater skill in boxing than timing.
Meaning
No greater
Wilder
skill
has
than
done
timing.
more with his level of skill set. He's done more than Anthony Joshua. I ain't trying to take it
His skill
biblically,
won't matter.
but Anthony Joshua got more
His skill.
skill sets, more tools in his skill set, and he has not done much with them. He's done something, but he ain't done like even like everything that this man got. The man looked like a Adonis, and you telling me he walking around afraid, questioning himself. The people who can't use the skills that they got, they're gonna lose it. They're gonna lose it. Like he has not been faithful with the tools that God gave him. And so guess what that's gonna mean? Wilder with less tools is gonna usurp him. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'm not being
I don't know
crazy
about that.
critical. Yeah, I'm not being crazy critical of Wilder with skill set. We know he did get a late start in boxing compared to other people that have been in, started much younger than him. So the basic skills that with the jab, stuff like that, we don't see that. But my only thing I've always been critical on Wilder is since he's been a pro, he's had an opportunity to improve those deficiencies, and he hasn't. So yes, he has great time. He certainly does. He would knock the shit out of somebody. We know that. And that's a great skill within itself. That's his equalizer. That's who he is. We know that. So I'm not being crazy what negative on Wilder, but just it is what it is.
So you telling me under his new coach Wilder,
Let me ask you a question, Food Man.
under his new coach Wilder hasn't got better skill wise?
Wait, Boxing Genius. Hold on real quick. Food Man, let me ask you a question. How is it that this guy who's not skilled is always able to land his punch on every single opponent?
I just acknowledge that that's a skill within itself. I did acknowledge that.
His delivery system is excellent, which is part of skill. Okay.
Heat-seeking missile.
Yes, and not only that, we saw in his last fight that he was able to knock a guy out going backwards with a 2-inch punch. Bruce Lee would have been very proud with that punch that Deontay Wilder threw because it was such a short punch. Okay, he hit him with a Bruce Lee punch. Okay,
He's about One Punch Man. Nah, man, but he's done that before though. He did that before though.
And he can do it again. He can fight going forwards or backwards. That's the thing about Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder is so highly skilled, he can fight going forwards or backwards. Can Anthony Joshua fight going backwards? I don't think so. We saw that all the time. He can't fight going backwards. He can't fight going backwards. Listen. First of all, he sucks. All right, let's keep it real. And for all the skills of Anthony Joshua guys, he sucks. He sucks. Okay?
Anthony Joshua, the cowardly lion.
Yes, he has no ego. This dude has no heart. He has no heart. This is a give it a go kind of guy. Oh, these guys are too focused on winning and losing. Well, what the fuck do you think we're doing in boxing? You're either winning or you're losing. The hell do you mean it's too focused on winning and losing? Hello? That's why you play. You play to win the game. Okay? Like, what is this guy talking about, man? This guy has no heart. He has no courage. And that's why he's always so defensive. Because like the boxing academic said, shout out to you, I'll give you the credit. This is an insecure man.
Did you see how his coach looked at him when he got back in the ring? How Derek James was looking at him? He looked kind of disgusted at him. Yeah, he looked kind of disgusted at him.
I don't think this is going to be a long-term marriage. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't think.
He gonna leave. He gonna leave once he loses again.
But he's not gonna. But he's not gonna lose though. Either way, the MDO back on here, and we kind of mentioned this last week, is that you had Derek James, of course, with Frank Martin, with Errol Spence, with Anthony Joshua, now with Ryan Garcia, and also has Jermell Charlo. It's looking like his slate is similar to what Eddie Reynoso had with all of his fighters. And I'll talk about one of those fighters here a little bit later. But when you that bit much of a plate, you really can't focus on, really doing what you need to do with your fighter. You know what I'm saying? And so I think, that was a little bit of a factor with Errol Spence in his fight against Terrence Crawford. We've seen what happened with Frank Martin against Artem Harutyunyan, and we've seen a little bit here with Anthony Joshua against Robert Helenius. So is it going to be an instance where, okay, when these guys' next fight comes up, is it going to be in that particular instance where it's within a 6-week time period or 8 weeks or whatever it is, to where, okay, you got like another, fighter that you're going to be working with that you're going to have a whole lot of time, with. This is like in comparison to like someone like, who I talk with, Coach Ronnie Shields, who, had Philip Hergovich out there in this fight card, but, also deals with Jamal Charlo, also deals with David Morrell Jr., and other, fighters. So he'll be at one spot 1 week, and then he'll be over in the UK another week, and then be back in the US for another fight for another fighter. So, but when you have multiple fighters that have lots of success, they definitely need more time to focus on the opponents because it's a higher level opponent. And when you do that, you're going to need more time with your trainer in order to, work on various things, whether it's sparring, strategy, fitness, that type of thing. So,
Question, JR.
That problem.
Question, JR. Are you blaming Anthony Joshua? Can you hear my question? Can you hear me?
Are you? Yeah, but I had a question. Up.
Oh, go ahead.
Now, like I said, with Derrick James, is that plate too full for Derrick James having all of those fighters under his banner right now?
I mean, that's a good point. That definitely, I mean, the more you spread yourself out, I mean, the less effective you can be at any one thing. But my question to you is, are you blaming Anthony Joshua's insecurity on Derrick James?
That has nothing to do with insecurity. That's unfamiliarity. You say it's insecurity. I say it's unfamiliarity. Because
Terrell, did you see insecurity yesterday in that fight?
Well, that's why I said, from my viewpoint, I thought it's just been a bit too cerebral. So.
Did you see insecurity or not, Terrell?
Levels to it. Levels.
Come on, Terrell. Stop being nice because you want to not go against JR.
The answer is no. All right. The answer is no. Wait a minute.
Come on, cooking boy. Tell them the truth, cooking boy. Tell them the truth.
In that case, I don't think. I say no, and the reason why I said it before, there's not a lot of firepower that Helenius is going to be throwing back at Joshua to make you be wow. Let me watch out.
Why his face look like that?
Well, it's boxing. So that's why. What do you think?
What is that on your picture?
Lobster.
Oh, okay.
Hey, so JR, a question for you real quick. So in regard looking at Derrick James, we know it's his full stable: Frank Martin, Joshua, Ryan Garcia, Spence, and it goes on. How much time does a trainer spend one-on-one with a fighter? How much does he delegate to his chief seconds, stuff like that, to get a fight up to par? How much time?
Well,
what kind of question is that? We know it's different for everybody.
Hold on. There's multiple factors. One, it could be, due to, well, for one, like how much moolah that particular fighter has with their trainer. And two, if it's something to where, they have something scheduled for those fighters. Like I mentioned before with Coach Ronnie Shields, you have something where he's, there with a few guys that you'll have about, let's say, 4 or 5 fighters at his gym at a time in one sense, but in another sense, he could have a one-on-one session with a fighter like Jamal Charlo, so if you have something where it's like, okay, you could dedicate hours of your time for one fighter every single day, that's one thing. But the other thing is, like I said, you can have folks in the gym where you'll have 4 or 5 guys, there with one guy. I mean, this is no different than with, like I said, Coach Ronnie Shields or Coach Calvin Ford or, Like I said, with Eddie Reynoso or a number of the other notable trainers that seen over the years, Freddie Roach, Nacho Beristain, they all had that thing where you're training multiple fighters at a time, but it just depends on how much time that you have with one particular fighter.
Well, can I ask you a question, JR?
Go ahead.
And tell me, how is it going to be possible for Derek James to properly train Errol Spence for a fight in December and Anthony Joshua for a fight in January against their two biggest rivals?
While teaching Anthony Joshua hard in class.
You can't teach hard.
I know.
You can't teach hard.
It still won't matter.
I was adding to your question.
You can't answer the question. That's your question according to
6'6" of nothingness. 6'6" of nothingness.
Nah, it is something. He got a yellow belly, but can't nobody paint that.
What Deontay
you can say that. You can say that now, but if he was right there across from you, would you be saying?
Listen, what Deontay
the thing of men know not to do that. I wouldn't challenge nobody bigger than me. That's just in general.
I'll slap him around, JR.
Oh, now I know. Now, MVO, you have said that, but I'm gonna listen. I will call up. Listen, I will make some phone calls, and I will have Anthony Joshua come over to the Bronx. Oh my God! Listen.
So Matt can sue him.
For one, actually, he would do that. Okay, all right, but my thing is, if that does happen, because I'll say this, I'm not sure if Errol Spence is going to be returning to the ring in December, at least not.
So listen, I need you, JR, to make sure when Wilder and Joshua fights, and Wilder does what I say he's going to do, I need you to make sure that I am the first person that you invite on your program. Okay, and I don't want you to have another guest for an hour. I want to do the first hour by myself before you have any other guest on there. Because
I'm with him, but I don't want to hear that shit.
Hold on, everybody. Okay, I'm gonna put this out there. If Joshua and Wilder fight, and by any stretch of the imagination or any chance that Wilder wins, this is what I'm going to do.
Hey, don't give him no hour. We don't want to hear him talk for an hour.
Listen, I will make a video. I will make a video giving complete credit to Deontay Wilder. I will have some type of merchandise of the Bomb Squad, and I will give a shout out to the Bomb Squad.
One more thing.
Listen, I'm not doing anything in reference to the OnlyFans. That's not
No. We're not gonna do that. No. What I want you to do is, if Deontay Wilder beats Anthony Joshua, I want you to learn and perform Deontay Wilder's song on this program.
Which one?
No.
The one that sound like the Jamaican song. That sound like
no. What's the other one? Oh shoot. The one that it came out to for the Helenius fight.
Yes, that's the one. I want you to learn and perform that song on this program.
Yes. I'll accept the challenge. I accept the challenge.
This is recorded.
Yes, it's recorded. Hey, listen. I'm telling you, man, just like before, ain't no. Hey, listen. I don't care if I have to go to Oak Cliff every single day. Yo, I'm gonna make sure Joshua wins that.
Just do not try to spike my guy's drink. Thank you.
Oh, no. That ain't gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. Oh, man. Oh.
If they fighting in Saudi Arabia and Eddie Hearn is like the main promoter, then that's something that he probably should worry about.
Nah, according to I don't know if you saw this MVO, but it looks like they trying to get more than one fight in for this particular matchup though. But we'll see how that goes. I think it's going to be a one and done, but who knows, man?
Oh, it's definitely going to be a one and done.
Yep, and Wilder is going to be
one round and done.
My question is, does this version of Anthony Joshua get beat by the version of Charles Martin that we saw? That's my question. The last version of Charles Martin we saw.
Last version of Charles Martin? Nope, he still don't.
I don't think so either, but I think Charles Martin to give him a much better fight and probably even hurt him at some point.
But still, Charles Martin still loses though. So there's that. So that that goes to what we're talking about with Joshua Helenius, man. We know about the undercard fights that took place. Filip Hrgović looks like he's still waiting for Alexander Usyk, man. I don't know what he was doing there against Dempsey McKean. I'll see what Coach Ronnie Shields says about it. I don't know if it's going to be this Tuesday or next Tuesday or whatever, but for some, like that was mentioned before, it looked like he was Filip Hrgović is kind of like still fighting the same way with those punches that
he sucks, JR. He sucks.
Like, come on, man.
Yo,
yeah,
I counted at least 20 rabbit punches. What the fuck is going on?
Hey, listen, man. That's what he be doing, man. It's like he did that.
Man.
He did that in what was another fight that I saw him on? Rydell Booker.
Yeah, I was starting to think Kenny Bayless was the referee with all those uncool rabbit punches.
Yeah, man, that was like, yeah, they did that in the 12th round, and I was like, he had
exactly. But we all know Kenny Bayless allowed Tyson Fury to rabbit punch Deontay Wilder, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh my goodness. Oh man, we I don't think we should go through the rabbit punch thing again, man. All right, yo. We also had like the joint WBO. Oh yeah, that's right. This guy MVO really don't care about these fighters. WBO super featherweight title. Emanuel Navarrete versus Oscar Valdez. Navarrete getting a unanimous decision win. There, and my thing with what was it? The commentators on ESPN, they're saying, "Oh my gosh, this was an absolute classic. This was a slugfest." I'm like, nah, man. Navarrete pretty much beat down Oscar Valdez over the course of 12 rounds. Valdez only could land a couple shots here and there, but he really didn't have Navarrete in much trouble. Actually, I'm surprised that they didn't stop that fight as bad as Oscar Valdez I was, because he was just getting straight up beat up, man. But Navarrete getting that decision win, man. He keeps that WBO version of the super featherweight title. And as far as I'm concerned, though, it's still 130, and nobody really does much at 130 anyway. You only had one unification bout at 130 in the past 10 years or so. You know what I'm saying? So
you want to know why they gave Valdez? Oh, sorry.
Yo, what he said with Valdez?
Do you want to know why they gave Valdez the benefit of the doubt in that fight?
I don't know why.
Because he was really the house fighter. We know why. It's because
other than that,
Emanuel Navarrete tried to leave Top Rank, and they made him stay. Remember? Y'all forget about that.
Other than that, because he fought with courage, something you can't teach a fighter. He was getting knotted up, but he still kept trying. You can't teach a fighter that. They got to have that from within. That's why they didn't, call it quits on him. Outside of him being the house fighter, as MVO said. I take my hat off to him because I he could have quit. He could have packed it up. He could have not wanted to try, but he kept trying. And you got to give respect to a man who did that.
So, Boxer Academy, let me ask you a question. Who had a worse eye injury, Valdez or you?
What?
You're an asshole, Matt. So you just want to come in this big hurt my feelings, huh?
This is terrible. That's terrible, man. That's absolutely terrible.
That's so messed up, man. Dang. I thought we was friends, man. Why you gonna say this over the air, man?
That was terrible. Absolutely terrible, man.
Valdez looked like shit. Let's keep it real. He only won maybe 2 rounds.
Maybe.
Like, come on. That was a one-sided beating. But the way Joe Tessitore and these guys were talking, you would think it was a close fight. They were talking about a trilogy.
Right.
Like, what? Do you hate Valdez? He was getting his ass beat.
Oh, this is a great Mexican rivalry that, like.
Listen, all I know is that fight making Shakur look real suspect. Shakur looking real suspect. That's his best win. And Navarrete was a fight we wanted to see Shakur fight. And Shakur moved up instead of fighting him. Now he beat the hell out of Valdez. Shakur looking real suspect. They asked Shakur about a Navarrete fight on Twitter. You know what Shakur said? He said, "Oh, let me grab this belt first, then we can fight at a catchweight maybe." Bruh, you're not fighting nobody else. Go fight this man. You don't have anyone good to fight, according to you. According to you, everybody is ducking you. So go fight Emanuel Navarrete like you were supposed to do at 130 when he moved up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, I mean, he never did a great job last night. He just used as his reach continuously. He had a higher punch output. We saw that, and just I expected Valdez to be sharper, which he was sharp, but he just wasn't effective. It wasn't having the typical effect out on force punches that he typically would have on the opponent. So, but he just got. And on top of that, like we already said in the group chat, he basically used his eyes as a defensive mechanism, pretty much. So,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
You an asshole, man.
I want to add in.
Thank you.
Scipio Navarrete. What's going on? What's going on, Chip Bailey?
Yo, what's good, man?
Yeah, man.
Look, that fight was set up for Navarrete to win, man. Valdez had no chance of winning that fight.
Valdez was a minus 176 betting favorite. I want to point that out.
And
I mean, that's cool.
I was once I saw that, I'm like, damn, why don't I know? Why don't I see these damn odds when like you see the other odds like Terrence Crawford and Spence and stuff, but why didn't I see the odds on that? Because I definitely would have took it. I'm just kind of disappointed that I didn't see that.
I ain't gonna lie, I had to delete my DraftKings after last night, man. Because I put $88 on fucking Valdez getting a knockout, bro. I listening to Tim Brad.
You just said it was set up for Navarrete.
Yeah, but I had to think about it, right? I'm like,
oh my god.
No, I was picking Navarrete to win, but at the same time, I got to think about it. I'm like, Valdez could knock Navarrete out. Like he get at times, like he loosens up. You know what I'm saying? He gets too comfortable. Like he can get clipped. Navarrete is susceptible to getting clipped, and I think Oscar Valdez could have been the guy to clip him at some point. But outside of just like clipping him, he was gonna lose the fight. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, he hit him a few times. He gave him clean a few times.
And that's what I'm saying. Like Valdez caught him with some shots, but he was getting beat.
Yeah, he was getting beat. And the thing was, it was like Navarrete was taking a number of those shots and still throwing. You know, like even after like taking one punch, whether it's like the left hook or whatever it is, you see Navarrete still throwing like 1 or 2 punches after that. Like he would just still, keep throwing. And that was the thing that kind of got Navarrete the win over there, man. Like, I mean, that was it, man. Shout out Heavy Chevy, man. He said he cashed in on a plus 135 and a plus 170. I guess it was a plus 135 straight up and plus 170 on the decision, something like that. You know what I'm saying?
He was damn. Yeah, he might have been plus 135 on decision. I know he was like plus 340 on the knockout.
Yeah, but I mean, that was the thing too, man. Like going into it, there were like a few people that were calling for Valdez to win the fight, but they just thought that Valdez was going to catch Navarrete, but Navarrete just wouldn't allow that to happen, man.
Yeah, see, that's what fucked me up. That's what I was leaning towards. Like, I'm like Navarrete. I expect him to go in and outbox Valdez because like I said, the last 2 fights, I felt like Valdez lost to Pitbull and Adam Pitbull, Blue Nose Lopez in that last fight, and then he got outboxed by Shakur. So it's telling me that this dude can't handle guys who know how to box.
And unfortunately,
Yeah.
what's his name? Valdez got that quit gene in him. Just saying. I was surprised that he didn't quit personally.
Oh, where
So
he
I
gives up.
yeah, like he sort of like stopped trying at some point. So
You
I was
know
actually proud of him.
what was crazy to me is
Oh,
at times he would hit Navarrete with a big shot and he wouldn't follow up, and I'm like, why are you like you see this dude's body language is moving a certain way every time you hit him with a big shot, but you don't follow up. Like I felt like he had him hurt at least 3 times the way he could have did some serious damage, and he just didn't move on it.
he just yeah. I guess he couldn't really take advantage of those opportunities there on the joint. But man, like, but yeah, Valdez, man. This is like what his second fight where he's in a high profile matchup of sorts, and he ended up falling short. So he's gonna go a couple notches down in the rankings. And I guess what is it next up for the number one spot in the WBO was Albert Bell, who won his fight. I think it was Friday. He had a fight on Friday that was part of that overtime boxing card on the zone, whatever it was. So looks like Albert Bell, was still trying to get in on a world title shot. I don't know if it's going to be here against Navarrete, because I mean Albert Bell used to be on top rank,
Top,
looking
yeah,
for a
top
world
rank.
title shot. And still didn't get it. So I don't know how that's going to work
Man,
out.
that boy took a dive.
Yeah, I got a question. Do y'all think Valdez should call it quits at this point?
I mean,
I
he
really
okay
think
against certain levels, but once he raise it up to a certain level, then I mean, you should probably not expect him to win.
that's what
So
I'm saying. It's basically pointless at that point in time unless he's just fighting for a paycheck.
I don't think he should call it quits for the simple fact that if Naoya Inoue is going to stay side the top rank, that is a fight when he moves up to 130 that is very winnable for him, and it might get him some credibility with the American audience.
I mean, Valdez is not shot. I mean, we know he lost to Shakur, took a ton of confidence away from him. We know that. So if Valdez should quit, should Spence quit too for the same reason? No.
Well,
Yeah,
Spence may be neurologically compromised, and that's a different story. Like Spence got hard, so you can't question that about him. But physically, or like, is he okay? That's the biggest question.
yeah, that's the thing, man. It's like after one loss, how does fans react to a fighter after one loss? Particularly after or the method that they lost. How does that work? You know what I'm saying? And with Oscar Valdez, with his 2 losses, those were like big losses, so to speak. I mean, no, he didn't get stopped, but it was still like almost like a blowout decision loss to Shakur Stevenson and to Emanuel Navarrete. So, like, it just shows where he's at as far as like the level is concerned. What could be next for him? I don't know if he would kind of stay for that fight with Inoue. It just depends on like how fast Inoue would be able to move up to 130. He's still has one fight at 122 left, and then he could move up to 126, have a couple fights there, 126, and then then go up to 130. But we'll see on that instance, man.
He's just
Can
too
I ask Tip a
far away.
question? Did you see the Anthony Joshua fight yesterday, Tip?
Yeah, I watched it. Joshua,
Let,
man.
let me ask you this before you give your thoughts. Was he fighting like he was unsure?
Was he fighting like he was unsure?
Unsure of himself.
No, I don't think he was fighting like he was unsure. I think
Okay.
he was taking his time.
Ooh, taking his time. Okay.
I guess he wanted to break him down. Like it's like if we pay attention to Joshua's not the Joshua of like 7 years ago. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to go more into being a boxer puncher, and I think he's doing good at it.
I don't think that no coach can teach him what he's missing. And he missing the heart. He need to go ask Dorothy or something like that to give that to him. Cause ain't no coach he ain't gonna find that from no coach, personally speaking.
I mean, he had to be careful too, because I mean, you going in there with a guy who can. I mean, this is a heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? You could possibly get clipped, and you don't want to be. Ain't like he got Wilder power. Like AJ got power, but it's like the power where you have to set it up. Wilder's in the case is like, yeah, you could set it up, but it only takes one punch. You know what I'm saying? AJ's got to break you down a little. He ain't got the one punch like Wilder. So I mean, I expect something like that from Joshua compared to a Wilder.
Yep, and that's what that's what I've been saying. It's like Wilder has it to where like he could, just catch you at any moment. Where Joshua basically sets you up to that particular point, and he gets like something where he beats down his opponents in comparison to something where it could be like snap of a finger knockout punch, like Wilder versus what was it, Spilka, something like that. You know what I mean? So that's the thing in reference to like the comparison between those two there. And yeah, back to the thing with Navarrete and Valdez, man. Like I said, man, 130 is kind of a man division. So I don't even know what they're gonna do as far as like what they'll set up Navarrete for next. They probably have like one guy that they'll have him fight that I don't know, not very many people know about or whatever it is, and then after that we'll see what happens with Navarrete. But as MVO said, hey, maybe he can move up to 135 and face Shakur Stevenson. Like why not have that particular fight?
I think he should fight Joe Cordina before he fights the Shakur Stevenson.
Who gives a fuck about Joe Cordina?
Yo, Cordina's nice.
Oh my god!
But you gotta just look at it stylistically though, right?
Bro, look at big fights. We want Shakur versus Navarrete. Nothing else.
Yeah, but you want Navarrete to become, you know what I'm saying?
Become what?
You want him to be prepared going into a style like Shakur. I think Joe Cordina provides that type of style.
Bro, nobody cares about Joe Cordina.
It's just not about Joe Cordina. It's about it's the preparation of fighting of Shakur Stevenson.
Matt said, let him continue being a casual fan.
Yeah, we come on with these obscure fights. We want big fights. That's it. We want big events.
He wants big events. He wants Tank Davis versus Dio Inoue.
Yes, I want Inoue versus Tank, and then I want Crawford
why would
versus
you want
Tank.
that?
Why not?
Inoue is a smaller guy.
So what? Inoue is an all-time great. The all-time greats can move up and down the weight. Don't be a slave to weight classes. Use your imagination. Nobody thought we were going to get Jamel Charlo versus Canelo this year, right? But because PBC had the foresight to use their imagination and understand a big fight is a big fight is a big fight, we are getting this great matchup September 30th. You got to use your imagination when you're making these fights.
You're right, but I'm just saying, like, looking at how he fought Nonito Donaire in that first fight, he's going to have problems with a puncher. I just don't give him a chance against Tank.
Well, I know people that think it's going to look like Canelo versus Mayweather, and they think that Inoue is going to be looking like Mayweather. And Floyd Mayweather himself said that Inoue has borrowed from his playbook. So you have an all-time great. The TBE is basically co-signing Naoya Inoue.
Yeah, because he wants to make that money, man. I get it.
Hey, we could use some wins for the home team, so it'd be nice for Tank to knock him out, personally speaking.
Yeah, I guess so, man. Yeah, we need a couple. need a couple of wins on that notch, man. Oh man, and I also was out there at the MGM National Harbor last night. You had that fight card out there, man. That first fight.
I am pissed.
Yeah, that first
not
fight,
been
man.
in the ring.
Yeah, that was the thing that one of my guys was saying out there, man. Like you don't go in there against against a both two-time Olympian. They're much older. And Gabriel Maestre, man, and that they seen what was happening there in the first round. That Maestre was trying to set up Trayvon, and he eventually got him with that right hand and nearly floored him. Well, almost like laid him out the ring. And the thing about it was that the referee, who was the dang good referee?
She tried to save him.
Sharon, Sharon Sands. And she was like, what do I do? What do I do? One, two. Like she, I don't know what it was, man. Like she had looked like she took some time, with that first count. And the thing about it was that even though Trayvon was able to get up from that, he tried to fight his way out of it against Gabriel Maestre, and that wasn't the move right there. He didn't fight like in a situation type thing there. He tried to scrap it out with someone that was a slugger of sorts there in Gabriel Maestre, and while it looked a little bit good for a couple of seconds, he still didn't have his full bearings back in there. So he still tried to fight it out there, and ended up getting slumped on the other side of the ring, man, and that was it there for Trayvon Marshall, and that's his first loss, and that was there around his home area, man, and a number of people were really hurt out there in the crowd for that, man. Second round TKO win for Gabriel Maestre, man. It's definitely a huge setback. And I mean, I talked with Trayvon earlier and was like, they matched him up against Gabriel Maestre, who was highly ranked in the sanctioning body. So it was like, why did they have Trayvon be put in this particular matchup? Given the previous fights that he's had, and like even in the past fights that he had, like against Justin Loach or against someone like Marcus Washington or something like that, you've seen he was still getting hit. So you can't like have that have that happen against a guy with the experience level of Gabriel Maestre, man. I didn't understand the matchmaking in that particular instance, but that's being reactionary at that point. You know what I'm saying? Tim, you were gonna say something on that? Or I thought
Give me 1 second. I got it.
Oh yeah, no problem. But, anybody else seen that drink?
Yeah, take all the time you need. This is not live. Take all the time you need, brother. Come on.
Don't tell him that. Don't tell him that.
Listen. There's one person on this panel who told you guys that this is too much for Trayvon Marshall. There's one person on this panel that said, I don't understand why Trayvon Marshall is a minus 950 betting favorite. There's one person on this panel that told you, don't be surprised if you see an upset.
Who told us? Who?
Me.
Who are you?
Me.
Who in the hell are you?
The great Nostradamus. That's me. JR, will you vouch for that? Will you vouch for that, JR?
There is a record of this in the previous episode.
Thank you. Follow my Twitter Spaces if you guys want to be educated on boxing. Thank you.
Yeah, no, the thing with Trayvon was he was flat-footed in the fight. Like, he's fighting completely different from how he came up fighting. They changed the style, and he's really a fighter that should be on his toes and using his jab. And I didn't see that in the fight at all. And if he was able to fight like that, he would have kept Maestre off him for a little bit. He would have still got clipped in some type of way because the experience level is just absurd. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't have been in it with that guy. And it was telling because when he got hurt, he started fighting back. And you know what I'm saying? Like your inward maturity should tell you, yeah, I need to be able to clinch. You know what I'm saying? Not start fighting back with this dude who's clearly a puncher. You know what I'm saying? Even your coach should have known not to put you in the ring with that guy. I didn't get that.
Yeah. I mean, Yeah, his coach, was there. Like talked with him a little bit before the fight too. But yeah, I don't understand like how they had that as his next fight up. He had just like I said came out of the bout with the with Justin DeLoach, and I don't understand it. It's like that was like his third fight this year too. But still, I mean, that was almost like a step up, a significant step up, for him at this particular point. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know why they had that at this point of his career, and to get beat the way that he got beat, man, that means like that's going to be a real setback for him, man. I don't know where they're going to go with him next from that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you got to get that. We got to see where they put him back in, man. Especially if they try to get him in at another fight this year. Next bout up, you had Gary Antuanne Russell against Kent Cruz. Kent Cruz came in there undefeated, but man, they said this is supposed to be at 140 pounds, but this is Kent Cruz that hadn't been at 140 pounds, since 2020. His last two fights against Gogoki were at least north of 140 pounds, and he got a draw in both of those fights. So it was like, I didn't even want to see what he was going to do against Gary Antuanne, and they just pretty much like had a one and done on that. It almost looked like Kent Cruz was just happy to be there, man, or we just there. He got his fight in. He's getting a check, and that's that. Because after he got hit with that body shot, he didn't want anything left, man. He wanted no parts of Gary Antuanne Russell, and that was just a first round knockout victory there for Gary Antuanne. He still has 17 wins, 17 knockouts, and we got to see where he's going to go at this particular point. I know he's coming off of having an injury, injured his thumb or whatnot, but his crew wants him to, have another fight this year. I'd say he should fight someone like a Sergey Lipinets before, going after, one of those world titles. Antuanne keeps talking about Regis Prograis, but, Prograis is going to be fighting Devin Haney. You have Rolly Romero that has a world title, so you could go after Rolly Romero. You also have, of course, Subriel Matias, but the thing about it is, I really haven't seen him mention Subriel Matias. And Subriel was in attendance at that fight too. So that's the thing. That's the fight that I want to see though is Gary Antuanne Russell versus Subriel Matias, and it looks like they just ain't even doing whatever it is to try to make that fight take place, man. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
I think they need to have Gary. They need to have Gary fight in DC on a pay-per-view card for a title. That's only going to help his stock out here as a fighter.
That ain't happening though. That ain't happening because it's only one. There's only like one fighter that could, bring a pay-per-view over to DC. We've already seen that happen, and Gary Antuanne is not going to be part of that card. There's no way that they're going to allow that. No way. So the only other thing I say is they have like a doubleheader with Subriel Matias having his mandatory, and then having Gary Antuanne, face, like I said, Lipinets or somebody out there, and then those winners fight it out later, like sometime next year. So that's the only thing I'm seeing, because the camp for Gary Antuanne Russell is saying like they don't want him to fight for a world title yet. They're waiting until next year for that. So if they're gonna do that, and it is what it is. That looks like they're willing to stick with that plan. You know what I'm saying? But that's the quick thing on that fight, because it wasn't really much of a fight on that one. And then that the main event, man, I don't even know why they had this as a main event out there, but it was what it was. Manuel Rodriguez, Melvin Lopez, and like, man, from that first two rounds, man, Manuel Rodriguez was just way too like levels above Melvin Lopez, and I thought like he could have did something in order to try to had his fight stop. There was nothing Melvin Lopez could do to really move Emanuel Rodriguez. And for me, man, even with those knockdowns that he scored in the 12th round, like that was just a bad matchup all across the board, man. Manuel Rodriguez gets the IBF bantamweight title again. I guess this goes to what MVO was saying in reference to Naoya Inoue. In his case, the being the top pound for pound fighter is that you see his fighters go out and still get wins and get world titles and that type of thing there. So here you got Emmanuel Rodriguez being a world champion once again, and he looks like he wants to go ahead and unify there at 118. Actually, right now I think he might be the best fighter there at 118 pounds. You know what I'm saying? I know that you had what was it? The fight a couple of weeks ago where Alejandro Santiago beat Nonito Donaire, but Donaire is, I'm sorry, man. Donaire is basically it, man. That is a wrap for Nonito Donaire at this particular point. Like he really can't do much against the younger guys out there at bantamweight. So you might as well have Rodriguez there going up against Santiago in a unification bout at 118 and have them sort that out as the top part of the bantamweight division, because Jason Maloney there, I don't know about all that, man. And you do have Takuma Inoue as the WBA champ, but we don't know what they're gonna do here with Takuma Inoue. So there's that, man. But shout out to all of those there that are joining in on the live chat. I don't know if y'all had any takes on what was going down, but we do have the phone lines open at 571-449-7217. That's only going to be for probably about another 10 minutes or so if anyone's calling in. But yeah, that's mainly what I have, man. There ain't no action next week. I know that we're supposed to have the press tour for Canelo Alvarez versus Jermell Charlo, as MVO was talking about. They will have one press conference in New York, one press conference in Los Angeles. We'll see what goes down with those two press conferences, man. It's going to be another real big event over there in Las Vegas, and yeah, man, I'm going to see if I make some reservations out there for Las Vegas for that weekend, because that's going to be that's definitely going to be a crazy weekend out there, man. Definitely going to be crazy out there. So definitely looking forward to that and all that, man. There ain't really nothing jumping off here in the next week or so in boxing, as far as like the boxing schedule is concerned. We got, I guess Alexander Usyk defended against Daniel Dubois on the 26th. But, outside of that, we really ain't got nothing much going on until September 30th with that Canelo Alvarez versus Jermell Charlo. Also, trying to work on getting an interview with WBC interim super middleweight champion David Benavidez. Of course, there's been some news floating around that he may end up facing Demetrius Andrade in his next bout. So we're going to see if that's going to be locked up or not. But in the meantime, I know that, he had his brother there, Jose Benavidez Jr. He was out there at the MGM National Harbor. He did score a win out there as well. So that's the thing with Jose Benavidez Jr. He's now at middleweight. He was at welterweight, and then he had the fight against Danny Garcia at super welterweight, and now he's at middleweight. So we're gonna see what Jose Benavidez Jr. does for the remainder of his career now at the middleweight division. But outside of that, there really isn't much else going on as of yet. Hopefully, we get more announcements of more fights coming up down, for the fall or whatnot. So that's what I got. What's up, Terrell?
No. Like I said, just a small note. I think Reynoso, Canelo's guy, said that he wants to fight Baby Charlo, then Big Charlo, back to back. So
yeah,
I mean that's online. So that's kind of interesting in that regard. So other than that, not much.
Yeah, there's that. Oh, but I mean, there's that, and then some people have brought up the possibility of Canelo Alvarez facing Terrence Crawford, but Terrence Crawford said that fight happens, it would be like at a catch weight or something like that, maybe at like 156 or whatever it is. I don't know, man. Like that might have been like another big event, but you know, the plan was, you know, it was going to be for Canelo to face, you know, Mel Charlo, and Errol Spence. But with Errol Spence, you know, losing to Terrence Crawford, especially the way that he lost, that the interest in that bout is pretty much like out the window now. So now it's like, okay, what else is Canelo Alvarez going to do here in this third bout here under Premier Boxing or Hammond Boxing? That, you know, that remains to be seen now. But you know, with that being said, man, that's what I got so far, man. Anything else from y'all, man?
Good.
Don't look like it, man. But yo, that's it. Within hour and 30 minutes here of this podcast. Thank everybody that's joined in, and all those that join in live here for this particular podcast. We're gonna be right back in the next week. You know, maybe so. We'll see what happens with boxing news and everything like that. But until then, I'll catch y'all later, man. And like I say at the end of every show, the point of boxing is hit, not get hit, not to say the trade. On that note, folks, I'm out. Have a good evening, everybody.